I actually think that there's one skill that is left out of 99% of the career advice out there, and it's not mindset. I've led teams at a global tech company, I've run my own business, and now as a coach, I've coached people through pivoting to completely different industries. And I have to tell you that the biggest thing that I see making a difference is actually nervous system regulation.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
So if you've been feeling like you've been doing all of this mindset work, but you're still feeling stuck and not making any progress, this video is going to tell you exactly why. Hey, I'm Kieran, coach, career strategist, and creator of The Possibility Pattern. This channel is all about swapping perfection for possibility and building our lives and careers around who we really are rather than who we've been told that we should be. So if you have outgrown the kind of success that you were taught how to chase and you are ready to build a career that actually feels like yours, then you're in the right place. So here's my issue with mindset work, right? And that's your mindset obviously it's about your mind, right? And so it's really focused on the way that you think. The problem is that it can be really difficult to think well or to think skillfully when the rest of your body is just in chaos. And what I mean by that is if you are extremely stressed, if you are feeling really tired, you're burned out, it can be really difficult to be thinking not just clearly, but to be thinking in ways that is really empowering and like thinking in these like beautiful mindsets when actually your body just does not match with that. So most of the mindset advice that is out there is assuming that we are already able to come at this from a stable place, like at a place where we are able to think well. And I work with a lot of ambitious, driven, smart, and incredibly talented people who have big dreams for their lives. And the thing that I see over and over is that it's not about the quality of their thoughts. It's about the fact that they are completely frazzled or too frazzled to even be thinking well in the first place. They are trying to approach all of these things from a state of constant stress, from, peak anxiety, completely just over functioning and crashing out. They're in high functioning freeze states. And when you're in this state, but the advice that you're being given is, just start, just be confident, just post your content, just be more disciplined, just do it, right? But the thing is, if it was that easy, we would all be doing it and I would be out of a job. The problem isn't not doing enough because your mindset is not dialed in. It's that actually you're doing too much and then your nervous system is completely dysregulated. So that's the part that most mindset advice actually misses, that your nervous system feels safe enough to even receive it in the first place. So what ends up happening is that we become obsessed with fixing our minds when actually what we need to be doing is soothing our systems. But let me tell you a bit about the science behind this, because I think it's really interesting and helps to explain why this is the case. So basically, mindset work lives in the part of our brain that has everything to do with logic, reflection, future planning, and that sort of thing. Essentially, it's the prefrontal cortex of our brain. But when you're overwhelmed, anxious, or just feeling burnt out, we're not living from here. We're living from back here. You might have heard about this being called the lizard brain. We're in survival mode. We're freezing, we're fighting, we're flighting, we're fawning, right? And in that state, let me tell you, your brain does not give an F about self-improvement. All it is thinking about is survival, which is why if you're feeling like this and then you're trying to do your affirmations in the mirror, or you feel like you can get yourself going for a little bit for like a few hours, but it's not sticking. And then you end up feeling like something's wrong with me. Like, why can't I just shift my mindset? Or why can't I just change the way that I'm feeling? Why can't I just do the things that I say that I want to do? It's not that your mindset is failing you or that you have the wrong mindset. It's that your nervous system is doing exactly what it was designed to do, which is to keep you safe by shutting down anytime it feels some sense of threat, which even includes your own growth. So the big thing to take away from everything that I've said so far is that mindset is not useless. I am a big fan, but it's just not the entry point or starting point when this is how you've been feeling, because you cannot affirm your way out of burnout and you cannot reframe your way out of freeze. But what we're going to talk about next is what we can do. If mindset isn't the entry point, then what is? Regulation. And what I mean by that is just learning how to bring your nervous system back into a state where you feel grounded enough, you feel safe enough, and you feel steady enough to be able to actually receive the insight that you're giving yourself, the support that you're giving yourself, where it begins to feel less like a threat and more like, okay, this is something that I think I can do. So regulation, it doesn't mean that you are calm all the time or that everything feels perfect. It just means that your body is no longer in that sort of like tense stress response where you're bracing for that impact. And it's not running, it's not frozen, which is key because when your system is more regulated, your capacity changes. And I see this in sessions like right there with my clients. When we've done a regulating activity, right afterwards, they're now able to access creativity that they couldn't 5-10 minutes before, or they're now able to remember things that they just couldn't remember before from that more stressful place. So you can actually access your strengths. You can feel fear, but feel like you're actually able to take your next step. And you can move forwards without feeling like you need to be totally confident and have everything perfect and lined up beforehand. So this is exactly what I work with my clients on, is how can you regulate yourself so that your brilliance can come back online and that it's not underneath this sort of shutdown response. And then from this place, your mindset work and all your mindset tools become a lot more effective. Your decisions become clearer. Your strategy suddenly comes to life. So I'm not saying that regulation replaces mindset work. I'm saying that it's the foundation that allows the mindset work to land. So you might have heard everything I've said so far about dysregulation, and maybe you're picturing the, like the dramatic burnout crashes or the panic attacks or, like a emo anxiety spiral and thinking, okay, cool, but what has that got to do with my career? I thought you promised me career advice. Well, let me give you some examples that can help show you how sometimes when it comes to your career or work, it can show up in quieter ways, but still just as pivotal. So for example, you turn down a high profile opportunity at work. So maybe it's, to lead a project or like a speaking opportunity, or when you stay silent in meetings, even though you feel like you have something really important to contribute, or you see a job posted at a company that you actually know someone, maybe a friend or an old colleague, but you don't reach out to them to ask them for a referral because you punk out, even though you know you'd be a great fit for that role. I've had so many people who talk themselves out of applying for roles that they are perfect for or that they have been working towards for years, but when it comes down to like actually doing the application, they just can't bring themselves to do it. Or I think so many people can resonate with this one, which is when you stay in a toxic job, even though it's sucking the soul out of you, but because the fear of what would happen on the other side in terms of like leaving feels so much more destabilizing and scary than staying with the devil that you know, right? So these kinds of moments some of them can sound small. The idea of maybe putting your hand up in a meeting can sound small compared to, okay, I'm going for this whole other job. But regardless of what the size of the action is, they represent this idea of not going after what you want. And this can turn into a bit of a loop where you're trying to hype yourself up and psych yourself up into like doing the things that you want to do, where you before the meeting, you're like, yes, this time I'm going to speak, or like, I'm going to put myself forward, I'm going to apply for the job. And then when you don't do it, you shrink and you're like, oh, crap, I didn't do it again. And so when this kind of stuff is happening, we have to look beyond the surface. We can't just look at this as this is a confidence issue. If you keep on thinking that your problem here is confidence or your mindset, you're going to keep self-sabotaging your way out of those kinds of moments, or most of them. Maybe you can white knuckle it sometimes, right? But the majority of the time, if your nervous system doesn't feel safe enough to be able to meet those moments, then it's going to keep on trying to keep you safe by avoiding them. And so what we're trying to do is to be able to get our nervous systems regulated to a place where we feel safe enough to meet the moment and meet those actions. Because these moments really matter. They actually make a really big difference when it comes to our careers. These kinds of examples I'm talking about are not just passing random blips, like, oh, I didn't put my hand up for this, or I didn't pitch that. It's about a pattern of behavior and about the decision moments that actually shape our path and can be the difference between living the kind of life and having the kind of career that we want or not. If you can see yourself in these kinds of examples, then I want to offer you an alternative strategy that is going to allow you to more consistently shoot your shot. Because this is how we create the kind of careers and lives that we want, right? By shooting our shot and doing it in a way that's accurate. We want to shoot the right shots and we want to, shoot them well. And trust me when I tell you, it's not going to be another mindset hack that gets you there. What's actually going to get you there is to start developing the skill of nervous system regulation as part of your daily routine and your daily life. It doesn't have to be like, a 90-minute morning routine practice. I'm talking about how to learn to check in with your body before you start spiraling. So, for example, it's being able to pause before you send the email. It's about before you go into that meeting where you know that you're going to want to speak up, that you take a moment and do a bit of breath work. It's going to be different for everyone, like what you resonate with in terms of your regulating practices, but just taking that time so that every single day you are down regulating your nervous system and shifting into that calmer state so that we are spending more of our time in that down regulated space. This is a really foundational place that you can start, which, to be honest, is going to set you up for your whole life, not just these next steps that you want to take. So start with regulation. Start with building more safety and more tolerance into your system, not just in big crisis moments, but as an overall practice. Because over time that becomes your foundation, which means that you're no longer pushing through or trying to power through. You're just in general moving more in your power more of the time. And you're moving from a place that actually feels steady enough to hold the next level that you want. Hopefully this unlocked a new perspective for you and got you to think about things in a different way. And if it did click for you, then there are a bunch of other nervous system resources in my nervous system playlist. And if you enjoyed this video and you're ready for a more grounded way to move forward with your career, then subscribe to this channel for lots more videos like this. And the very last thing that I want to leave you with is that if you have been feeling behind in your life, I want you to know that that is okay that you are feeling like that. This is why I'm sharing some of what I've learned along the way with you so that you can begin to practice some of these things for yourself and understand how you can work with your nervous system to be able to make the changes and take the actions that you want. Because I would actually put money on the fact that this skill of nervous system regulation and learning how to do that in your daily life could end up being the foundational piece that ends up changing everything for you. So let me know in the comments what resonated, what landed for you, and thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.